everyone. Welcome to the May, what is this, the 6th? Wow. May 6th North College Hill City Council meeting. Good to see everyone come out. We will get started as we always do by standing for our prayer for North College Hill City Council and then the Pledge of Allegiance. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen. Call this meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, again, I want to welcome everyone. If you do wish to address council tonight, you can step back with Mr. Hedger there, our clerk, and get signed in.
That's yours.
Mr. Hedger, when you're ready, please call the roll.
Miss Orr.
Here.
Mr. Wald.
Here.
Ms. Dukestein.
Present.
Miss Alexander.
Here.
Ms. Brunner.
Here.
Mr. Davis. Miss Underwood.
Here.
Thank you. All right, we have tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. DeWald.
before we get to that, did Mr. Davis excuse himself?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not receive any notification from Mr. Davis.
Mr. President,
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Zorb to accept tonight's agenda as presented. Second by Ms. Underwood. Any discussion? When you're ready, Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Miss Orr.
Yes.
Mr. Wald.
yes.
Ms. Dukestein.
Yes.
Miss Alexander.
Yes.
Miss Brunner.
Yes.
Miss Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
Mr. Davis is actually outside.
Okay. Well, when he comes in, he can
I understand.
join us. All right. Thank you. All right. We have the minutes from the 4/15/2024 meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I'd like to make a motion we accept the minutes from the April 15th meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Brunner.
I second that.
Motion by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Brunner. To accept the minutes from 4/15/2024. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Miss Orr.
Yes.
Mr. Wald.
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein.
Yes.
Miss Alexander.
Yes.
Miss Brunner.
Yes.
Miss Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
And then, Mr. Hedger, do you have any communication this evening?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. I would like to remind everyone, all my colleagues, that if you have not yet done your financial disclosure statement from the Ohio Ethics Commission, that is due May 15th, so do not forget that. All right. I had an item to put on the agenda that I did not, so we're going to fit it in here. Our interim Chief Cheney has a couple of awards he would like to give out to some of our police officers, so I will turn this over to Mr. Cheney.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I apologize for the lateness of this. These probably should have been done last year. I can't tell you why. So I am doing my best to fix that. So first award is going to be Certificate of Merit for Detective Brown. back at the, this actually is a little time frame. Back on April 8th of 2022, there was a car that was burned out behind the city building that turned out to involve a homicide.
I remember.
Detective Brown's work with CPD was able to get a confession from the suspect and a full conviction. Obviously, it was a tireless investigation. As you can see, it started in April of 22 and did not conclude until sometime last year before it went to court, and she was ultimately found guilty and sentenced to prison. So very time consuming for himself. At the time, he was the only detective. We had pulled me out of the detectives division at that time, short staffed, and then I also was promoted. So he did this basically on his own with the assistance of Cincinnati police. Our portion of the crime ended up just being tampering with evidence and tampering with a deceased body. Unfortunately, the homicide actually took place in Cincinnati, so that's why there was a joint investigation. But without Detective Brown's tireless work with them, this probably would have been an unsolved. So we were able to solve it and get a little bit of peace for that gentleman's family up north. So with that, I'd like to bring Detective Brown up, give him a certificate, his pen, and we also created a plaque for the officers as well. So thank you. Thanks, brother.
Could have been done without Cincinnati.
Go ahead and step up.
Yes, it was long and tireless. It was a huge case for me. I'm happy that I had the assistance of the Ohio State Fire Marshal's office. They helped me with the arson part of it. So the arson and the tampering with evidence was here in our city. The homicide actually occurred in Cincinnati. But without the help of the Fire Marshal's service in Cincinnati, I don't know where we would be at this point. But there was a lot of work done on it, and thankfully she's off the streets for at least 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Detective Brown.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So the second award is going to go to Officer Brandon Robinson, a life-saving award. And it's probably easier if I just read an email that came directly from the fire department on the day of this incident. So just bear with me. On the morning of Sunday, March 19th, 2023 at 05:55 hours, North College Hill Police Department and Fire Department were dispatched to 7132 Hamilton Avenue for a vehicle fire, which was later upgraded to an auto accident with entrapment. The call came in at shift change for the fire department, and most of the crew was checking and removing their turnout gear from Quint 78 when the call came in. In spite of that, we got on the road quickly. North College Hill Police and Mount Healthy Police responded and arrived on scene before we did. North College Hill Officer Robinson arrived at the scene. There was an auto accident in a car that had struck a tree head-on in the median and had heavy front-end damage and was on fire with the driver trapped in the driver's seat. While the driver was sitting, his legs were pinned underneath the dashboard to the point it looked nearly impossible to extricate the driver without extrication tools. Officer Robinson somehow was able to pull the guy out of the car as the fire crew in the engine compartment towards the passenger compartment. Had Officer Robinson not acted in such a selfless, quick manner, the driver no doubtly would have suffered much greater injuries, if not death. This email is to show appreciation to Officer Robinson and North College Hill officers, as well as the Mount Healthy officers who responded to assist us on this call. All of their assistance was very much appreciated. And this came from John Miller, one of the firemen. So with that, I'd like to bring Officer Robinson up for his awards. Certificate, your pen. Yep. Good job. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. don't know if you want to say anything.
Thank you.
Just appreciation to the fire department for the recognition. It was, I don't know, it's kind of what we do. We don't do this for thanks, but we got there. I saw a need to hurry, and thank God it worked out the way it was. We were able to get the gentleman out. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Robinson.
That is all I have.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Good work, good work.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I would like to just acknowledge that Mr. Davis did come in at approximately 7:05 p.m. and he's sitting next to me.
Did you get that documented, Mr. Hedger?
Yes, it was documented.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Underwood. All right, we'll move to council committees, starting with City Community Development and Recreation.
We have not had a meeting this month. Our next meeting is the 20th of May, 6:30 p.m. here at the City Center.
Thank you, ma'am. Budget and Finance.
We have not had a meeting either. Our next meeting is May the 13th at 7:30. I just wanted to make sure.
No,
That's why I
that's-
was pausing.
Yes,
'cause
no, thank you.
I think that she jumped a week.
Thank you, Ms. Dukestein.
Yes, May 20th will be our next council meeting.
Oh, that's on my mind.
All right, so point of correction on City Community Development is the same night as Budget and Finance, and that will be this coming Monday, 5/13. Thank you. Rules and Public Policy.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met last month on whatever the fourth Monday was. We did have, there was a committee of the whole meeting first, and I did yield part of my time to the committee of the whole. And then when the committee of the whole ended, our committee met briefly after that. Primarily what we talked about was, we kind of talked a little bit about the council rules, which we had talked about in the committee of the whole. We also talked about potential rental of the senior center. And that's pretty much what we talked about. I believe our next meeting will be May 13th as well. Depending on whether we can get the rules amended tonight, which is, I'm sure, all of our goals. So if not, it will be the fourth Monday, but I have high hopes that we can agree on something between all of us.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. All right, and Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met on Monday, April 22nd at 7:30 p.m. And we had reports from Chief Cheney, who talked about I wrote down here traffic meter. Did that come in?
Good evening. Yes, it did come in, and we have actually already had it out in use. Earlier today, I took the results over to Chief Cheney so he could go over them and see where we stand on some of the speeding violations. It was located on Hamilton Avenue, just north of Beach Knoll, as you come into the city from College Hill.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And he also spoke about the tow lot, which has been very beneficial. That place stays busy, I understand. We had a report from Chief Plackey. He talked about the 211 fund and that in June we might be getting that new fire truck in place. Mr. Huffman from our Public Works. Excuse me, Mr. Huffman, I wrote down trailer. You've cleaned out that trailer in the back?
So the trailer behind the old school is now completely removed. It is just the concrete studs that are back there that are left, which we plan to take on in a later date and time.
Thank you. And Mr. Huffman also brought up the springtime cleanup, which I was not able to attend. Was that pretty successful, you think?
Yes, ma'am. It was very successful. We had a great turnout. There was a lot of people here. The city looked
Awesome.
fantastic. Even coming into the week beforehand, we had kids, we had residents. I mean, we started here from Goodman to the Corp line at Galbraith, all the way over to Savannah. We were picking up trash bags all the way up until 12 that day.
Well, I bet Miss Bruner had nothing to do with that, did she?
Oh, boy. I had everything to do with it.
Thank you, Miss Bruner.
It was a good day. Good day.
You talked about a mower that are we buying one or repairing it?
So we did buy a brand new 60-inch Ferris mower. We purchased it from Koenig out in Oxford. They are a Ferris dealer. This is going to help us cut down our mowing time on the 32 properties that the city currently mows and takes care of.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's all I have.
Do you want to tell us when your next meeting is going to be?
I said that, oh, no, our next meeting is, I've got this somewhere, right after hers, on that same night.
13th.
Thank you, Ms. DeWald. All right, next up is ad hoc reports. Does anyone have any ad hoc reports this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to the administrative reports. Good evening, Madam Mayor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. I only have two things. Oh, I'm sorry. This Wednesday, the Planning Commission will have their meeting here, I believe, at 4:45. I know sometimes people like to attend those. And the final thing, the position for the city administrator has been posted, so I expect to start getting those resumes in anytime. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for the mayor? All right, next up is the city administrator's report. Is somebody filling in for the administrator this evening?
There's no report.
No report. Next up is the law director's report. The law director is not with us this evening. And then the finance director's report. And we do not have a report this evening for that either. All right, that'll bring us to call of members. Starting with Ms. Zorb.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to report that I accepted the challenge. Actually, Ms. Brunner and I accepted the challenge of playing chair volleyball against our seniors. And they kicked our butt. And they even gave us 4 people. And they still kicked our butt. It was, we played, 3 or 4 games and lost every one. It was incredibly embarrassing and yet hilariously fun at the same time. I highly recommend if anyone else wants to come up. They play on, Monday and Wednesday? Is that Monday and Wednesdays? A lot of fun. And they take it very serious. You have fun, but you'll get scolded when you do something wrong. I would also like to take a moment to thank Ben Torrey for seeing our council mailboxes get moved up here. So thank you, Ben. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Zorb. Ms. DeWald.
Mr. President, I only have one question. Were there only 2 of you and like 10 of them?
No, it was 6 on 6, but there was 2 council, 4 seniors against 6 seniors. And
Oh, those poor other 4. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Dukestein.
I just would like to reiterate a thank you to the detective and the police officer for their heroic work. And then I did not attend the cleanup, but I heard it was an awesome turnout. And when I saw the pictures, it looked like everyone was just busy digging in. And then I saw the tree board or the tree commission planted, 3 or 6 juniper trees?
I think there's
in the park. And
I wasn't able to attend it either, but I think there were 3 at
The police
the police
department.
station and then another 5 or so up at Veterans Park.
Yep. So just the time of year for planting and reviving our earth. So I was excited about that. And that is it.
Mr. President,
Thank you. Yes,
could
Ms.
Mr.
Nichols?
Huffman just told me there were 6 at the PD and 5 at Veterans.
Okay.
And I would also like to thank the Tree Commission for the beautiful plants inside of here. I don't want to call it council chambers, but that are sporadically placed throughout. Also, they did today plant some elderberries on the side of the building as well. So kudos to them.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Ms. Alexander?
I would like to thank the police officers for their tremendous work, bravery. That is a job that takes a special type. I'd like to thank them, also the Tree Commission. And yeah, as soon as I walked in and I saw the plants, it was just like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh, wow, just, just life. And if you missed the cleanup, you missed a time. A time was had. People of all ages, children, groups, you got to meet people. It was really awesome talking to people. And, going out and seeing the tremendous work that was done, it was really a awesome thing. I hope that we have more of them, keep it up, and that's it. It was just a great job. I was glad I was able to attend and had my kids here and had them helping, so everybody pitched in their effort, and everybody just seemed so thankful, and, it didn't even seem like work. When everybody gets together and does their part, it doesn't even seem like work, and the pride, and it was just awesome. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. Brunner?
Oh, and thank you, Ms. Brunner, for putting it together. Thank you.
Thank you to the police department. They have my total respect. My total respect. And there's a yard trimming drop-off. The locations are Oakdale Elementary, Rumpke Landfill, and Bezak Landscaping. The program guidelines, let me see, things must be cut and manageable. Collection must be brought to location in containers or bags. Not allow yard trimmings in commercial vehicles. No trailer longer than 8 feet or trucks longer than pickups. No pallets, boards, nails, fence, or wires accepted. No bricks, stone, or soil accepted. Illegal dumping is prohibited. And these flyers will be up here at the Senior Center if you want to see them. Next we have, let me see, compost. Oh, there's a backyard compost seminar for 2024. If you are new to composting world, this will be an excellent opportunity to learn about the basics. Although this seminar is geared towards beginners, this will also be a great opportunity to refresh your composting skills. And it's here, May the 9th at 6:30, 1586 Goodman Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio. And if you're thinking about getting a compost bin, they're $49.95 if you're interested. And there's an Adopt a Park. This is new to me, Adopt a Park, about the Adopt a Park program. The goal is to get the community involved in keeping the city's park system clean and visibly appealing. Projects might include litter cleanup, painting flowers, or light landscaping. Participants are also encouraged to report maintenance concerns and suggest improvements. Interested organizations should contact us at community.northcollegehill.org to submit your ideas. For all approved projects, the city will place a sign in the project area recognizing the volunteer efforts from your organization. Okay, that's www.northcollegehill.org. And what else do I have here? Oh, and the cleanup day. I just want to say, the cleanup day, it touched my heart. It was amazing. I partnered with the libraries. I walked Hamilton. I put out messages on Facebook. Even though I'm not on Facebook, some people helped me put the message out. And thanks to all the people who did put messages out for me. I want to thank the fire department, the police department, Perkins for the coffee and tea, North College Hill Bakery for the donuts, Kroger's for the water, Creamer's for the pizza, and North College Hill Chamber of Commerce for the T-shirts. And I want to thank Marshall, the mayor. All that showed up. I know everybody can't make everything, but I appreciate everybody that put the word out, because some people couldn't make it, but they sent me people or screenshots of people that wanted to be involved. And the senior volleyball game was a joy. It was a total joy. It's hard not getting out that seat. You'll be surprised trying to hit the ball and not get out that seat. It's a couple of times I kicked the ball with my foot, just out of reaction, But it was a total joy. It was a total joy, and I appreciate this city, and I love this city, and thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Once again, total appreciation to Councilman Bruner and everybody involved in the community to clean up. And also, Madam Mayor, this is a question from a resident. The youth jobs program that we entered in, where would they be able to get information as to how to apply or how to participate in that for the summer?
That's through with the Hamilton County Youth Collaboration. I can get the information tomorrow and then pass it on to you, who the direct contact is.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know, the city this year has partnered with a program where we can have youth from ages 14 to 21 come work, and they pay for it. So Public Works has agreed. Thank you, Mr. Huffman. I tried to do it 2 previous years, but we couldn't make it happen. Mr. Huffman has agreed, and so we will get 5, not 4, we need 5 students. And it may work out for us if that 21-year-old, because they can work all year if they decide not to go to school, college, and then it'll be paid for by that program. So I'll get the direct contact. She did come see me last week, but I don't have her card with me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. President, can I say one more thing?
I'll allow it.
I want to thank Victor for bringing the Uptown Bingos. I want to thank Victor for bringing the football team, and I really enjoyed those kids, and it seemed like they had a lot of fun. It seemed like they had a real ball there. And I want to thank the North College Hill Tree Board also. I didn't have a chance to plant trees with them, which I am on the tree board because I was so busy doing the cleanup day, and I just want to recognize the tree board. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Underwood?
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Ms. Bruner for organizing the cleanup day. I wasn't able to participate this year, but I did put a flyer on the front door of my office. So hopefully I sent 1 or 2 people in your direction. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Ben Torrey for getting our mailboxes moved. It's the little things, and thank you so much for doing that for us. I would like to say thank you to Detective Brown and Officer Robinson for their service, because it takes a true, if you think about it, to run into fire or run into, a situation where, the car might explode, just what I can't even imagine or fathom. So I would like to say thank you for both their service there. Also, May 4th was International Firefighters Day, and so I would like to say thank you to the North College Hill Fire Department. It is such a joy to see our fire trucks kind of, when they, make all the noise. I can still hear it, but it's just when I see them driving past my office on Galbraith, it's wonderful. So I would like to thank them for their service. I know that they watch our meetings faithfully, so I would like to thank them for their service. And that is all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
can I add one small comment?
I will allow it, but I'm going to have to break you all of this habit.
I'm sorry. It was Miss Brunner. She talked about the compost bins. And so I was watching documentary this week, and most of our waste comes from food. And we will save our planet a grave deal if we start to compost like each family. So I just wanted to put that out there because it is like that time of year where we're talking about, you know, just spring, and the compost bins are very inexpensive at that cost. So I just wanted to kind of heighten awareness. Sorry.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is remarks from the audience. Mr. Hedger, do we have anyone signed in this evening?
Yes, we have Victor Wilson.
Good evening, Council. Victor Wilson, 6930 Kleindale. I pretty much signed in to ask the council if they probably could look into adding some type of additional department to Public Works. The only reason I asked of that is because I have been spending every single day picking up trash outside of my community, walking up and down Galbraith. It's frustrating because as I walk and pick up trash, I see my residents and visitors of my community just throwing the trash right out the window, even though they see me there picking it up. So, you know, talking to Public Works, it don't look like they have enough there to cover this problem. It's a problem. I'm sorry, but I am a very cleanly person, and it's aggravating to me to turn on a street, even that I don't live on, to see trash all over our community. This is ridiculous. There's no way. Maybe city council can look into incentive programs for residents, you know, to get out there and pick up the trash. You know, they all do got addresses. Maybe we can find a way to incentivize them. Hey, thank you for going out there and picking up the trash. Thank you for participating and coming out and volunteering with us. Because, yes, it was a great turnout for the cleanup, but it could be more. I'm just saying, if city council can just look and see what other ways that we can find to incentivize our community, so that way everybody can feel just like I feel, fed up with the trash. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Next, we have Kathy Curtin.
Good evening, council, administration, all in attendance. Okay. First question.
Please start with your name and address.
Oh, thank you, sir. I completely forgot. Kathy Curitan, 6718 Devonwood Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45224. Okay. I wasn't going to ask this question, but I just want to find out, where is our law director tonight?
I do not know. He did not reach out to me and tell me he would not be in attendance tonight.
Is this considered an excused absence, or is it just he didn't communicate with anyone?
He is not a member of council, so we do not excuse him.
Okay. Is he required per charter to be present?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorn.
I don't believe he's required per charter, but he is required per his job, for his agreement. Thank you, employment agreement.
Yes.
We made great attention to Mr. Davis's, I'm sorry, sir, I will use you as an example. There was great acknowledgement of his tardiness, but no comment about our law director, who is a salaried employee of our city. Where is he?
I do not know.
Okay, well, I am challenging our council and our administration to find out where he is. As we did with Mr. Davis, who was 5 minutes late. Sorry, sir. Okay, so let's get started. 3. So I would like to find out, and bear with me, there's just I want to find out some particulars. I would ask that if you have the information, acknowledge. If you don't, just acknowledge that as well. Just don't say anything. That will help us tonight. Do we have a status, and this is for council and administration, do we have a status of Chief Schran and Lieutenant Petroselli's paid administration leave and investigation?
Mr. President,
Ms. Nichols.
it is still under investigation, so they're still in the process of interviewing.
And that would also apply for Chief Phil's paid administrative leave and investigation.
So, Fells, his is different from theirs. I really prefer not to talk about
Yes, ma'am. I respect that. Not a problem.
it at this particular moment.
Okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. And you did mention tonight that there is a hiring posting for the city administrator, so we will move past that. And I think 2 meetings ago, we talked about a bridge communication from council to citizens, that new email generated, and actually, Mr. Graver, you were supposed to get with Annalise Clear. Do you have a status on that?
That is correct, and I did not do what I committed to do 2 weeks ago, so I will get on that
Can we have an update in maybe 14 business days, maybe 2 weeks from today?
by the next meeting, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize.
That's okay, sir. I understand. Do we also have, I'll save this one for last. Do we have a status of the splash pad, the installation? I believe that falls under Ms. Bruner's committee. I believe at the last time the gentleman was here, we were looking for different layouts. I think some council members had not seen it. Do we actually have an update? Today is May 6th, and I know those babies want to do something in the water, so.
No, we do not have an update as of today. I think Annalise, the recreation director, is working really closely with him.
Okay.
But I could talk to Annalise about it.
Okay.
And I will get you an answer about it.
Mr. President,
Madam Mayor.
I did have a brief conversation, not a brief, but a meeting with her, and she did give me some small updates. He was able to find some funding that lowered some of the costs, so they're working on it, on getting other things taken care of as far as the splash pad is concerned. So I know they needed to have another meeting with a couple more people, but he has acquired or found some funding that could lower the price for us.
Okay. And do we have a status if this will happen in this fiscal year, this summer, or?
Don't have that status,
Okay.
but that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay, not a problem, not a problem. Now this is just, I see Chief Cheney, Chief Cheney present. If I can ask you, sir, how's that hiring process going with our officers? And congratulations for stepping up and literally taking everything and just doing it your way, and it's working. So do we have an update on hiring?
So we currently have 2 gentlemen in the process right now. They are almost done with their backgrounds.
Okay.
We had to actually seek out a new psychologist to do their psychological evaluations. So we just finished signing a contract and meeting with her last week. So the one gentleman actually has his next week, and then the other gentleman, when we get to that point, will have his probably the week after. So we have 2 people in the pipeline.
Good.
So my hope is by the end of May, they will have all their stuff done and be starting on the road. So.
Okay. And then hiring those 2 people, will that still leave you deficient?
Yes, we'll still be
Okay.
1 short.
Okay. Okay, that's fair.
Currently.
Okay, good. And then if I can also find out the status of the I say this word incorrectly all the time, asbestos removal from the city center. I believe that fell under, I can't call a name, so let me not do that. But do we have an update on the status of the asbestos removal?
Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein.
I'll take that one, Ms. Brunner. I know you, Ms. Brunner and I kind of, because there's a financial piece, and then she's doing the other piece. So we're working together to try to create. We're now at 3 estimates.
Oh, good.
They're coming in, and they're giving us a gamut of things that we can do to see if the building is repairable, restorable, if what it's going to cost to remove the asbestos, what it would be to just kind of slate it clean so that we can deal with the other side of the building as well. There are so many things going on with that building that we're kind of just gathering as much information as we can to give all of us options as we talk through. It's not going to be an overnight process. We are working on it quickly because we understand something has to happen ASAP.
Thank you.
So we were just, I think her estimate came in the week prior. My the one that I was working on, we just met this week. Or I'm sorry, not this week because it's Monday, but Thursday of last week.
Okay.
What we're trying to do is get more than one estimate. You know, to check price and cost. So one has already been done. So now we're working on the next one.
I think one had already been done before her and I.
Yeah.
She got one and I got one. So we're just trying to do it as a team, so it's not so much work for one person.
Sure. And now here's a hard question, and I believe that hard questions are not meant to do anything but to cause us to critically think about why we're here, why all of us chose this elected role for the city. So if I can, sir, Mr. President, I would like for each council member to answer this question honestly, and I think candidly. If you can just share with those who are in the audience, those viewing online, those with administration, those who work for our city, how many years have you been a member of council, and can you highlight some of your notable achievements? And the reason why I'm asking is I think it's important we realize where we are. How long have we been here? Are we new? Are we tenured? Are we adding value? Are we creating problems? What are we doing here for our city? Are we moving forward as a city? So respectfully, I would ask again, how many years have you been on council? And can you highlight some of your notable achievements? Tonight, please, preferably. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Would you like to start, Ms. Underwood?
I would.
Well, then go ahead, please.
So, I'm not sure how long I've been on council. Honestly, it feels like forever. I believe I was elected once, and I was appointed to complete a term of someone who had resigned. So I want to say 3 years I've been on council. I think the most notable thing that I worked on was the fire levy with Chief Fells and the committee. We met on a regular basis with that process. We talked about numbers, we talked about money, we argued, we fought, we cried. We talked about how this was going to impact our citizens, which is why the fire department, because I understand so much of what goes on in there, I was in there asking questions, asking very detailed questions. What is that piece of equipment right there? And what do you do with that? Those kinds of things. So I think that of everything that I've done since I've been on council, that's probably the most impactful thing, because I believe that it is very important for our community to have not only a fire department, but a fire department that's fully staffed with full-time firefighters. Because, you know, as a part of that process, I noted that they save lives. And sometimes the saving a life is the difference of 5 minutes. That makes a huge difference when somebody has had a stroke or somebody has undergone some other kind of emergency. So I've worked on some other things, but I believe that that is, of everything, that is probably the thing that I'm most proud of and that I can point to that I've done.
All right, so if it's okay, Mr. Davis, we'll just go around the room this direction. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I've been on council. This is now my 5th month, and I can't necessarily speak on in terms of what I have done, but I can speak on things that are currently in motion. Councilmember Bruner got me under her wing. Councilmember Underwood got me under her wing, teaching me like exactly how to write these bills and how to get things that go from how things move from an idea to legislation. And also in more of a 3-month span, I've spoken with OKI, apparently trying to figure out how to get federal grants for traffic calming in order to do traffic calming projects. That's things that where the design is enforced to help people slow down, as opposed to you know, using the cop just with radar. Though, like things like the cones in Lower College Hill, things like that come. So normally OKI generally handles federal money, and I've been asking and trying to tap in to see how federal money can be used for our federal route, which is Route 127, Hamilton Avenue. That's something that'll be coming in. That's something that'll come to pass a few months ahead. And also I've got a couple other ideas, things I'm trying to work on as I learn the process. So that's one of those. Please come back, ask me this question in 2 years, and I'll have a much better answer.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Ms. Bruner?
Hello, I've been on council 1 year, April 22nd. And October 23rd, I had the first hazardous household community waste drop-off. It was really nice. People were bringing stuff from their garage that they had packed up for years. If they still in the house where their parents lived, they was bringing stuff when they were children. You know, things can add up in homes. I was my first ordinance was the marijuana moratorium when they passed made marijuana legal in December 2023. What else? We planted 4 trees Saturday. I'm also on the tree board, so we did get out Saturday. We got on our knees. We planted 4 trees Saturday. We do some things that people don't see, you know. And what else? And Memorial's Day is coming up. Even though we are not having a parade, we are going to endeavor to do something for the city to recognize the fallen vets that died for our right to live. So, what else? And the cleanup day. I'm indebted to my community, and I hit the ground by just talking to people, just getting everybody encouraged, and that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Bruner. Ms. Alexander?
I've been on council for about 1.5 to 2 years. I initially took over an appointed, I was initially appointed to take over an expired term. This was my first year to run. I work very closely with Ms. Brunner. Community is something that, it's the reason why I joined. My family is here. My strength is talking to people, ideas for children. My children have, some of them are still growing here. Others have moved on because they're adults now. But my passion is to find, and still, like you're passionate about the splash pad, I want things like a community center here. So that's always on my radar for children, as well as, what we have one for the senior center. Cleaning up, if there is a time to clean up, I'm always there hands-on. My real passion is talking to my neighbors, and as I'm picking up my child from school, talking to the parents there, because a lot of times they don't know what city council does and the processes. They think that something should just be done just like that. And I have to explain to them, even planting flowers, if you just wanted to plant flowers at the end of the street, that has to be voted on, budget. And they're like, wow, I never knew that. And before I came on council, that's how I thought, okay, well, why can't they just go down there and do it? So my passion is education and educating our community on how government really runs, and to come and be a part of it. You listen, be educated, spread the news. It takes us, all of us, but that's my passion. My passion is community. I'm on the budget and finance. I like to try to understand numbers, but my real passion is hands-on community, like working with Ms. Brunner, cleaning up, planning things. That's my passion. Like I said, I continue to grow, and it's still a learning process. You might think 1.5, 2 years, you should know everything. But things just come up and you're like, wow, okay, well, can you break that down a little bit more, even for me, so I can take that back to my community when someone asks me, hey, well, what's going on with this legislature? What does this mean? So it's a education for us all, and that's my passion. I'm always learning, always trying to take it back out to my community.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. I joined City Council January of 2020 as the appointee to fulfill the last 2 years of Tracy Nichols' term when she became mayor. She strong-armed me. In 2021, I ran for the office. I did not intend to, but nobody else was doing it, and I did not want that to be a problem, so I ran for the office. So I am in the third year of my 4-year term. My role in council as the president is not to run committees or work in committees and produce legislation. My role is to make sure legislation moves, make sure that we have agendas, and conduct the meetings. So I want to think that my part in this has been to bring a little more order into the chaos of our meetings in the time that I've been here, and some civility. Now, what I will say is the group that I work with here 2 times a week makes the job a whole lot easier than maybe some of the, I won't say that.
You can say it.
But I do, I mean, that's what I feel like I have brought is just, orderly meetings and hopefully fulfilling my role. Now, I do forget to do things from time to time, Ms. Curitan, because, yes. But that's it. Ms. Dukestein.
I was hoping he'd talk a little longer so I have an opportunity to think further. I'm glad I
She
wasn't
only
on-
asked for your most notable accomplishment,
Okay.
not a list of accomplishments,
Okay,
your most
fair,
notable.
fair. And that's very hard. That's very hard because even though things have been very notable, I feel like it's very hard to capture that in a set of words, especially for people who kind of are trying to understand all of our process. But for me, particularly, the things that I have stood behind or that have been a notable contribution has been standing behind legislation that supports our fire department, that supports our police department, that supports, we have a new HR person since I've been here. Let me go back just a second. I've started here in April 29th, 2021. So this April was my 3rd year. So I consider myself still very young here and am understanding a lot. And it's a humongous learning curve. But I've done my best to embrace it so that I can add to legislation that contributes and helps the city grow from here to the end of time past me. My daily mantra when in regard to city council is, am I making choices that if my children were to live here, their children would benefit from? So that's what I use to kind of govern whether or not it is contributing or not. Contributing, thank you. And so how I've done that is to stand behind legislation that supports those things. We need a fire department. We need a police department. We need a well-funded, well-paid. One of the things that I'm particularly proud of in back rooms, I fight for things like our salary ordinance, people getting effective, competitive pay. When I came here, there was not a lot of that, and I've stood in the fire line to make sure that those kind of things happen, bringing things from my secular job to the table here in this role to kind of create those balances. I also feel like one of the things that it may be small to everyone else, but it has been huge. I've worked with Mayor Nichols to create a city holiday party. And the reason why that was particularly important to me, it was her idea, but it was particularly important to me because it is a way, and it hasn't quite gotten off the ground the way the long-term vision is hoped for, but we want to collaborate, bringing forth businesses and government officials and employees and an opportunity to have conversations outside of these stressful council meetings and to come together in spaces where we can get to know each other, get to know and collaborate and network for the benefit of our city. Those kinds of things create spaces where it's easier to talk, where it's easier to build collaborative relationships. We need more of that. Council meetings are sometimes dealing with tough topics and people stand on opposite ends of the argument, and that doesn't make anyone wrong, but it gives us spaces where we can cool off and just enjoy one another as people, and we can embrace with each other. So for me, that's very, very important because it helps you to respect people on a day-to-day basis. And when you don't agree, you know that that person behind the scenes is not a nasty person. They're a good person. And it is easier to say hello. It's easier to shake hands and agree to disagree. And that work environment is super important to being productive. So I, on a daily basis, try to encourage and preach and live that, even when I feel like I'm not getting it. So I don't know that you all see that on a daily basis, but I definitely try to live that. So that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Dewald.
I have been on council off and on since 1991. When I first ran for council, it was 7 Democrats and 7 Republicans, so it was a tough battle to win. I had my first time being on council. As a matter of fact, this last election that I had is the first time I have not been the #1 vote getter. Not saying that it makes me special, it just makes me popular. One of the things that I like to hang my hat on is somewhere in the middle between 91 and now, I again was on for the fire department and the police department, and I was a big part of ordering the fire trucks and getting equipment and ordering cruisers, and it was a very active and intense, the things that you have to go through just to figure out what you want to put on that truck, what goes in that cruiser. I've not been on those meetings for a while. I think, is it perhaps that you're going now?
I'm not attending.
Yeah.
They're past that, I think, but I'm on the back end of making sure the financial dollars are there.
Yeah, right. So, and also part of financing, I've always kept a clean eye at the books, and there was a good stretch here where nothing was making sense, and I would speak my piece and got nowhere. So that was not an accomplishment at all. But later on, I found out that what I was talking about was correct, and that every budget we had for about 3 or 4 years in a row was not correct. So, but those days are long gone. But I think my biggest achievement is to be able to do all this and still have family and friends. So, that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Dewald. Ms. Zorb.
I have been, I think I first got elected, I think it was like 2016, and I think I was appointed a little bit before that, so right around 8 years. I am also on the tree commission, so I like to play in the dirt. I find it very zen-like to, that's my peaceful time, is to play in the dirt, plant things, and watch them grow. So one of the things, it's not really a council chore that I did. It wasn't really even a chore, but I'll take credit for the sunflower field that gets planted out here by the UDF green space. That's something that I fund on my own. It's not a city thing. I fund that on my own. I bring the tiller up and plant the sunflower seeds and water them manually. So other than that, I'd also like to point out that I think it was right around 20. It's been a minute. When Miss Blythe was on council, her and I spent the day at actually it was at your library, the Colerain Library, and we spent the day up there trying to find grants to because Miss Blythe had the idea of putting a splash pad in North College Hill. So we spent the day in one of your special rooms using your special computer to try to find grants to help us get the splash pad, because at that time we had no extra money in the budget. So that's kind of where that idea got kicked off. And I don't know. I don't like to talk a lot about me, so I think that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is that all, Mr. Hedger?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Curitan, I do want to point out that you did not exceed your 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. I worked hard.
Mr.
appreciate
President.
that. Thank you.
She
Mr.
made us
President.
succeed.
Well, I mean, yes, the time.
She's giving us 3 minutes each.
Excuse me, Mr. President. I
Uh,
would like to just inform you, I did reach out to Mr. Dieters. He got caught in a case up in Columbus, and they would not let him leave, and so he's on his way here, but he won't make it. So he had another court case up in Columbus, and he wasn't done, so.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. All right. Mr. Hedger, it's now time for legislation.
Third reading, resolution number 5, 2024, a resolution to authorize the clerk of council to post pending legislation on the website on or before the date of the first reading.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the Resolution 5, 2024.
I'm also putting it up here.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Underwood to adopt resolution number 5, 2024. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Mr. Wald,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you.
First reading resolution number 6, 2024, a resolution to authorize the rental of the North College Hill Senior Center.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
about this, it's, it, on the second page, it indicates that it was prepared by Mr. Dieters. It actually was not. So, and it just says this ordinance was prepared by William Dieters. It's not an ordinance, and it wasn't prepared by William Dieters.
Mr. President,
Ms. Nichols?
if I may, I have a couple of documents that was given to me by Ms. Clear. I would like to make copies and give these to you as it pertains to this. I know this is the first reading. I'm not sure what the intentions are with it, but she said it was reviewed by him on 2/26 of 2024. I'm not sure if these are the same ones that I sent to you. She seems to think that they are not. I thought it was the final version, but I'm not sure what the intentions are for this tonight, but I don't know if you want to see them.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
it was just to get a first reading under our belt. I mean, there was no way we were gonna make a decision today. I just wanted to get it moving along and kind of, I want us
Still make copies and
to
give
do
them to you.
something. So
Okay.
I'm not sure what that is, but, I'll take it back to my committee and we can talk about it. And we'll bring it back to the next
She has a
meeting.
few concerns, but obviously I was not at your last meeting, and I'm not sure if those concerns were addressed at the meeting, so I don't want to really comment on those.
Haven't received anything from Ms. Clear, so.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
Ms. Zorb?
Actually, Ms. Underwood, I believe you probably have an email from Ms. Clear at this point now.
Okay.
She actually, so what I'd like to say is that Ms. Clear sent me a text, and when she noticed that this was on the agenda for tonight, and she said that this is in no way, I'm using her terms, this is in no way ready for a vote, and she requested that we move this back into committee so that she could actually come to the committee meeting and address some of the changes that she would like made to this.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
Ms. Clear has had over a year to do that, so,
Yes.
no. I mean, she can, I encourage her to come to the meeting. We'll be talking about it, but in the last year, there's been nothing, absolutely zero. That frustrates me. It makes us look like we're not doing anything. I'm saying it out loud.
Okay. Next legislation.
Third reading, resolution number 1, 2024, an ordinance to create a special revenue fund to deposit emergency medical services billing revenue.
Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein?
So Ms. Zor brought it to my attention, I think at our last Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Honestly, this piece of legislation is not needed in lieu of us finding the legislation from 2004. So I'm not sure if you guys just want to vote it or you want to remove it, but we don't. I'm sorry.
Table it.
Table it. Okay. That's fine. I just wanted to bring that to our attention that we don't necessarily need it. Well, Ms. Zor brought it to my attention and I'm bringing it to yours.
So are you making the motion?
I would like to make a motion that we table Ordinance 1, 2024, an ordinance to create a special revenue fund to deposit emergency medical service billing revenue.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
I'll second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Dukestein to table ordinance 1-2024. That is seconded by Ms. Zorb. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'd like to also point out that there is another there's another ordinance 2, 2024, that covers everything that is in ordinance 1, 2024, and it covers it in greater detail and depth.
Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein?
So I sent out an email to you all and included this before sending it to Mr. Hedger and Mr. Graver, because I wanted to bring to your attention that we do actually need this. We don't need it to designate where the funds are going because the previous one did that. However, we do need it because that particular piece of legislation, if you look at the top, it has two things on it. One is rate increases, and we actually review the rates every 3 years. And this one is solely pertaining to where the funds go and how they were spent. I thought it would be in our best interest to separate that because in transparency, that's how that piece of legislation got missed. Because at the top of the previous one from 2004, it actually titles rate increases. And so several people had actually saw it, but didn't see the piece of legislation that was at the bottom. So I wanted to just separate it out so that we don't have problems like that in the past. It's not the funds or the money in the original account or anything have not changed. We've had both pieces of legislation. So this is just another one to clarify and kind of bring it out of that other document so that it's not missed in the future.
Okay. The motion is to table ordinance 1, 2024. Motion by Ms. Dukestein, second by Ms. Zorb. Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Mr. Walden?
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0.
Thank you.
First reading, ordinance number 2, 2024, an ordinance to establish a fire department special revenue fund account received from emergency medical services billing.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
again, I'd like to reiterate that this ordinance 2, 2024, is pretty much the replacement for ordinance 1, and it goes into greater detail than ordinance 1. And since ordinance 1 has already had 2 readings tonight, it was at its 3rd reading, I would like to recommend that we suspend 2nd and 3rd reading on ordinance 2, 2024.
Mr. President.
Hang on, you said recommend.
I would like to motion, sorry. You're right, I used the wrong terminology.
Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein?
I'd like to second that, and I'd also like to add that I don't want council to be dismayed by the word established. That's not actually what's happening here. It's not newly being established. It's previously established, but I think that that's just the language that Mr. Dietrich chose to use, but it's still profitable for this legislation. But I'd like to second that motion.
All right, we have a motion to suspend second and third readings for ordinance number 2-2024. That motion is by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Dukestein. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. DeWald,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb,
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2-2024.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein,
I'd like to second that.
all right, motion by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Dukestein to adopt ordinance number 2-2024. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. DeWald,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Thank you, everyone. All right, next item on the agenda is further remarks from the audience as it pertains to legislation. So if anyone would like to speak to anything we've discussed here on these 4 readings.
I'll have to go to the podium.
Can you come up and say it into the microphone for me?
I missed what was done with the resolution 6/2024. Was there a decision made on that?
We had our first reading. That's what happened tonight.
Oh, and then you don't,
Correct. We had our first reading. So first reading, second reading at the next meeting, third reading at the next meeting. We did not suspend readings. Yes, we had our first reading tonight.
oh, okay, and then you just discuss it and
Yes,
then-
there was some discussion, but yes, it'll be on for second reading at our next meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I do plan to take that piece of legislation back to the Rules and Public Policy meeting, which hopefully will be next week on Monday, so May 13th. She's
The party that was wanting to attend the meeting.
She is the recreation director, and she is, obviously, she can attend the meeting.
Okay.
It's
So
on
you're
May
just,
13th.
so it's just gonna keep moving forward instead of being delayed?
It will not be delayed.
Yeah, it is on track. All right, we'll move to old business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein.
in our meeting of the whole, did we talk about removing the further remarks from the audience as it pertains to legislation there? Did we agree to that, or are we still yet to?
I believe it was going to be something we were voting on tonight, yes.
Okay.
All right, hearing no old business, we'll move to new business, and that's where we will talk about rules of council. Who wants to go first? All right, things we discussed in our committee of the whole was to vote to remove the last sentence from paragraph 1 of Rule 10.4 around committee meetings. And that is that the committee meeting schedule, and I apologize, I don't have the rest, that they would be on alternating nights, correct?
They would be on, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Ms. Dukestein?
They would be on the second Monday of every month, and they would begin at 6 p.m. And every half an hour, there would be a new meeting and end at 8:30. Budget and Finance would stay from 7:30 to 8:30.
Could you repeat that again?
We talked about moving the meetings to all of the meetings, the committee, which there are 4, to the second Monday of every month, beginning at 6 p.m. and then starting every half an hour. So the first one will be from 6 to 6:30, 6:30 to 7, and 7 to 7:30. Budget and finance being at 7:30 and going until 8:30. And then that would result in us having our fourth Monday of the month without council meetings.
So to get to that, what we talked about was we need to make the change in the first paragraph of 10.4, committee meetings. The last sentence says the committee meeting schedule shall be staggered so that there are committee meetings every other week. So what we need to vote on is removing that sentence.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I move that we amend the council rules to remove the last sentence of the first paragraph of section 10.4. That sentence reads, the committee meeting schedule shall be staggered so that there are committee meetings every other week. I move that we remove that sentence.
Mr. President, I'll second that
Ms.
motion.
Zorb, thank you. Mr. Hedger, did you get all that?
We're good now.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I like to second that.
Ms. Zorb already
Yeah,
seconded.
Ms. Zorb.
Oh,
That's right. Ms.
sorry.
Zorb seconded it, yes.
It's past my bedtime. So sorry.
All right, so the motion is to amend Council Rule 10.4 by removing the last sentence of the first paragraph. That sentence being the committee meeting schedule shall be staggered so that there are committee meetings every other week. Motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Zorb. Any other discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Alexander?
just one more thing. I know you said budget and finance will be the last one. Did we establish the order of the other?
I believe we had a proposed status, but let's get through this and then we'll set the,
Okay.
we'll set the schedule. All right, Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Mr. Wong?
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Ms. Brunner?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next proposal we discussed was to, in 7.1, all right, so in 7.1, which is order of business, was to make a change in the council procedure by removing the second public participation, which is line item 11, remarks from the audience pertaining to legislation.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
the only thing, I know that we discussed that. However, today we actually did have a relevant question about a resolution that was on council's agenda. So I would just suggest maybe that we don't remove that at this time. I thought it was it was timely, it was relevant, it was right on point. It didn't take, and it didn't take long at all. We were able to answer the question. So I was able to visualize like what that's there for. So I would just encourage my colleagues that maybe we shouldn't remove that item 11.
I agree. Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald?
I agree with Ms. Underwood. I think it's still a vital part.
Do not have a motion, and if nobody brings a
Correct.
motion, then it won't come to a vote.
Very good.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein?
I agree. So I suggest that we move past that and keep that there for the fruitfulness that it yielded tonight. Suggestion, I should say.
Okay, then I'll pause just a moment. Okay. Then, as Ms. Curitan pointed out, I was supposed to work on creating an email address for citizens to reach out to council with questions. So by next meeting, there'll be an update. All right, and then we did talk about all meetings on the second Monday. So as you have heard some discussion here, that would be on 5/13. We talked about rules and public policy at 6. I wrote something down wrong here. What's the next one?
I believe it was my committee.
Which is public safety. Yeah, so I wrote that down wrong here. Thank you. Yep, so at 6:30, public safety. At 7 p.m., city and community development and recreation. And then at 7:30, budget and finance.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the schedule that you just listed for our committee meetings beginning at 6 and resuming at 7:30 in the order of rules and public policy, public safety, CCDR, and budget and finance.
Rules. Oh, and then budget. Rules. Okay, that's good enough. I'll fix that later.
Mr. President, I'll second that.
All right, so motion from Ms. Dukestein, second by Ms. Underwood to adopt new committee meeting schedule on the second Monday of each month, as it was presented, with rules and public policy beginning at 6, public safety beginning at 6:30, city community development and recreation beginning at 7, and budget and finance beginning at 7:30. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein.
I'd like to just add to that we begin that May 13th, 2024.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can you repeat what section again? 7.
7.1.
Thank you.
And it's specifically, there is a listing of council procedure. It is line item 11, timeout. No, this goes back to
10.4.
10 point, sorry. Now y'all got me messed up. 10.4, correct?
That's correct.
Yep. Thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I was still reading.
Go ahead, Ms. Orr.
Trying to find the place in 10.4 where I don't.
It doesn't actually call out the schedule.
It doesn't. That's what I was trying to find, a place to precisely make the changements, and the changes, and I don't see it.
I don't believe that schedule was actually in there. It goes through the listing of the responsibilities of each committee, but
Yep.
did not go through a schedule. The only thing in there about schedule was the staggered weeks, which we removed.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
maybe we could put it after the second paragraph, since it talks about not interfering with the schedule of another standing committee, or if you run into the beginning, blah, 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 blah. So I thought maybe that would be an appropriate place to put the schedule.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Zorn,
Yes.
Mr. Wallen,
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Ms. Brunner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
Yay.
Okay, that takes care of everything from our
Mr.
committee of the
President.
whole Mr. Hedger.
Which section was that in that you're adding it to?
10.4.
10.4. Okay.
I'll review that with you, sir,
All right.
because we will need to update the council rules accordingly.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orr?
I want to make sure that we take this full circle, and I want to know who is contacting Ms. Clear to make sure that the calendar on the website has been updated. Is that something you will own? Mr. Hedger on that.
I've got such a good track record of reaching out to Ms. Clear to get things done.
That's
I can.
that's vital.
Yes, I will work on that.
Thank you.
I'll send the email as soon as I get home tonight.
I'll send you a reminder to send the email.
That might help. All right, that takes care of all the items from our committee of the whole that were on new business. Any other new business this evening?
Mr. President,
Ms. Brunner?
Mr. President, Madam Mayor and Council, as an advocate of North College Hill community, seeing the cleanup day, I see people care. People came out. People were involved. And we need these people. We need these people back in the community. So with some time restraints in the afternoons, I have to make a change. I will be resigning from council.
No.
My last, May 20th will be my last day. I will be here. I will still be on We Thrive. I will be working with the council and the tree board and the planning commission. I think the council are they're making good decisions for the betterment of the community. But we need some help outside of this community. We need some help to get the morale back, to bring the people back, the love back in the city. So that's why I be utilizing a lot of my time. And my last day will be May the 20th, 2024.
Well, I can tell you that I may have found this out a little bit earlier today, and so I had a chance to deal with my broken heart, because I can tell you, Ms. Brunner, nobody wants you to leave. That's for sure.
No, that's
Mr.
why I was
Mr.
all mixed
President.
up at the prayer, because she had
I'm
just
really
told me.
not going anywhere. I will be here.
I understand that, but
I'm gonna be here.
won't be there.
I'll be here.
Mr. President.
I'll be here making moves.
Mr. Davis.
We need moves.
Can I make a motion to undo her motion? Can I make a motion to say, please change your mind?
Unfortunately, I don't believe that we can do that.
I'm begging. I'll go through the whole Lenny Williams. Oh.
Well, seriously, Ms. Brunner, I really, really don't want to see you leave council. I understand what you're doing and what your plan is, but you will be missed as a representative of the people here sitting at this table with us. So.
Oh, she ain't going nowhere.
No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
All right. Any other new business?
That's enough right there.
Mr. President,
Mr. Hedger.
Ms. Brunner, I will need a letter signed from you.
I have it.
Okay, good.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dukestein.
don't accept the letter, Mr. Hedger.
Where's the paper? So I can throw it away.
I know I'll be here.
All right. If there's no other new business, we have one more motion to make.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:28 p.m.
She can send it too.
Before anything else bad happens.
Right.
Need a second?
Mr. President, I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Underwood, or by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Underwood to adjourn tonight's meeting. Any discussion? Mr. Hedger, please call the roll.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Mr. Wong,
If I could sing, I would.
Yes.
Ms. Dukestein,
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Here, yes.
Ms. Brunner,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes, and I would like to say I'll take that over there for you if you like.
Motion passed.
Hey,
7-0.
if we just
All right,
snatch, if we just snatch her notebook.
Let's all relax. This meeting is adjourned.